Howdy, I'm wearing a blazer. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to install a cold air intake into a Jeep Wrangler, and then we're going to take this tuner and this here computing device and collect data and do science and see if it works. I have a pipe. These are the ingredients in this video: a Flowmaster Delta Force cold air intake for the Jeep Wrangler, an HPtuners MPVI2 module and VCM scanning software running on my Alienware 13 laptop, and this dork with a pipe in a jacket. So here's the quick layout of what we have here. This is basically the stock intake with a drop-in K&N filter element. And it's been great. I have no problems with it over the last few years. I do what you normally do. The normal maintenance would be to just take it out, hose it off, and then let it dry, re-oil it, put it back in. Been fine. Now, there's some interesting back and forth on whether cold air intakes actually work or not. So this would be a fun exercise. Now, doing a cold air intake on your vehicle, whether it be a Jeep or anything, is a fun upgrade. It's relatively easy. I recommend it for all skill levels. You should get out here and try this. It takes very basic tools. I'll show you. We'll run through that in a minute. It should take you about an hour at the longest. And then it's just kind of a fun upgrade because it adds a little bit different intake sound to your vehicle. Like, a lot of the stuff on here is designed to just be silent and quiet. And to a lot of us who enthusiasts, automotive enthusiasts, we don't mind having a little bit more noise coming from in here. And I don't mean noise in a bad way. I mean, it's kind of you hear the intake more. So that's not a bad thing. So let's go drive this thing. Let's see how this does. Get a baseline, do the upgrade, and see what we got. Do some smart people stuff. So this is where the MPVI2 module plugs in to the OBD2 port on the Jeep Wrangler. Boom. And that's done. And we'll go plug that into the computer. Looks good. Connected to vehicle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit start scanning. And as you can see, the screen kind of gets lit up and is now displayed with a pretty cool little setup. Let's start the Jeep. And everything comes to life. It's pretty awesome. So what I'm going to show you is that these are the things that we're going to look at. Manifold, air pressure. Over here you can see intake air temp. That is our target guide today. So right now it's showing 102. And you can see this is really kind of cool. You can see the RPMs, you have everything out. All right, so engine started. Let's go for a drive. Now, I put a HPtuners MPVI2 on this thing and had Jan from HPtuners give me a 91 octane tune. And I've been running that since October of last year. Power Stop Brakes Trail to SEMA is when I installed that. And it's been pretty cool. I'll do a much more in-depth review of that and what my thoughts are on having a tuner on a kind of, mostly stock engine Jeep. If you have a boosted Jeep or a Jeep with any other major modifications, I would say that this software is mandatory because they were getting huge gains out of it. Jay from HPtuners had a ProCharged Jeep that just got after it, and Alyssa had a turbocharged Jeep that was probably the most powerful thing on the trail with us. It was pretty cool. So, but in a Jeep like this with a stick shift, not sure that the returns, like, I'm getting slightly better gas mileage than stock. It has a little bit more power. Is that worth running 91 octane all the time? It doesn't work out math-wise. It still doesn't make enough gas mileage to make up for using super unleaded, at least here in California where gas is expensive. So you have that to deal with. So we'll talk about that more in the future. But for now, I got a wide open throttle blast here, 4th gear up this hill. This will be one of our baseline sections. And I'm just looking forward to doing this comparison and seeing what the cold air intake offers us. All right, now it's time to have some fun. We're gonna rip the stock one out. And to do that, we gotta take a few things out of here first. First up is your engine cover, and that's just a little pop motion out the door. Boom, get that set to the side. So this is the actual air intake, and then the air filter is in this box here. So let's go ahead and get that little guy out of here just so I can show you guys what that looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that off. Should be one more connector here. And this, just in case you're curious, is a 8mm. So that's an 8mm socket. We'll loosen these hose clamps up. It's gonna look like a 9. It's gonna loosen up these mounting points here on the core support. This crossbar here. So we'll go ahead and pull that tube, the coolant overflow tube off there. And so as you can see, this thing gets pretty loose. So that hose comes off there. And then this whole section will come out. There's one more. So this right here would be our mass airflow sensor. I'm going to go ahead and unplug that from the actual connector. So that's as simple as just pushing down and pulling that out. And then we're going to transfer this over to our new cold air intake tube, the Delta Force tube, with another grommet. We'll show you that in a second. So this here is a good example of what I was mentioning earlier about how the stock intake is designed to be quiet and be pleasant to the passengers and the driver, the human beings inside here. And all of these things are designed to help when the air is whooshing through here and into the intake to quiet some of that noise of the air going in. And some of us car enthusiasts, automotive enthusiasts, Jeep enthusiasts, don't mind hearing some of that stuff. So our new tube, straight through. So this right here is just a little, should be a quarter turn, and then out it comes. There it is. You don't want to hurt that thing. It's a very sensitive little element inside there. So we'll set this over here for now. Now this thing is dirty. My throttle body, I'm going to clean that because that's a mess. And this thing is a mess too. Check that out. We're going to do some good here. Now there's another tube right here that we can pull off. And this is the breather that goes to the back of the intake there. That will come off there. This is our top of the intake. This is the K&N filter element, and this is after a few months and a pretty epic long trip. So this is in need of cleaning, but this served fine. So I'm not replacing this because I didn't find it was lacking in performance. It's just the cold air intake is going to just be fun, and it may do us some good. Oh, that was pretty dirty. All right, so airbox, let's get this out. I think this just pulls up. Let's try. It does. There you go. Oh, it's a mess down in there. I don't have time to clean all this today. But for now, let's at least get that throttle body cleaned. This is the mass airflow sensor that we just pulled out a second ago. Now you can see this side is nice and clean because the air is flowing this way. The back side is as dirty as I let the throttle body get. So you get some, make sure that it's sensor safe cleaner, and you just spray that clean. And voila, you have cleanliness in your sensorness. It's good. You need that. All right, now to do some assembly. We're going to take the actual air heat shield and our adapter cone for the filter, and that goes kind of like this. So you'll see where those line up there. And then you start that there. Get that snug down. And do that times 3.
Then just attach the mounting brackets to the heat shield and these little plastic nubber things. You'll see where those go in a minute.
All right, now for our tube. Now this is the hole that the mass airflow is going to live in right here. So it comes with a little grommet right here. Let's go ahead and get that inside its little hole where it's going to live. Now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of my toolbox buddy, put a little bit, I'm not going to get any on the sensor itself, but I'm just going to dab a little bit just so we can get this in here. We're just going to go ahead and get that pressed into place. Now let's put in this little tube right here. This will mount, this is what that air intake tube will mount to. That just gets on about that tight. You want it clocked that way. And that's it for that. All right, now for the hardest part of this whole job. And that's to put this rubber dealio around this thing. And this just keeps any of the edges from rattling, but geez. Ugh. It's a wrestling match. I remember this from my nephew's car. This will take the longest amount of time. Oh, my pipe. Okay, we can do this. Jeez. And more wrestling. Oh, hey, I just learned a technique. It's a wiggle. It's a wiggle. Yeah, got it. Ahoy. I don't know why I said ahoy. I'm thinking Popeye. All right, so we're gonna cut that off. And boom. Not bad, if I do say so myself, and to do. Now that we have our little rubber grommet in place, it is now time to just get this thing down into, these are the 3 pickup points for the stock airbox, and that's what you put when you put these things on. And now all we do is just, these should just slide down in there. And I put a little bit of my toolbox buddy on there to make that easier. And voila. Those seem to go in pretty happy. Okay, I think we got that. All right, so here's a quick pro tip. Make sure that all of your hose clamps are kind of facing the right direction. It just kind of is something that will look professional and look clean and nice and look like you meant to do it. And that's how I try to make all of my installs when I can. So I just noticed that once we get this thing in place, the mass airflow sensor is going to be hard to reach. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in now. So that's this to the bottom of this. Probably heard that click into place. Boom, that looks happy. Now we'll go ahead and put this here. That looks good there. That fits nicely there. Well, here's a kind of an interesting thing. I just realized once I got this on that I can't have my hose clamp on the inside like I do here because of the actual throttle body motor, since this is a drive-by-wire application, is gonna get in the way. So that means taking my own advice. Let's flip those around. I'm gonna put those on the outside. So we'll just flip that around, put that way. Where's my other one? Clamp? There it is. Hid that for myself. And now, slip that back into place. Now what I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and still take my advice and put them symmetrical so they look good, and that's just because I'm weird that way. So we'll tighten this guy into place right here. Remember, those don't have to go that tight. So right now we're just getting things in position. Now what we'll do is we'll leave this one loose for a moment, and we'll get over here and we'll see what we need position-wise over here. And then we'll just kind of tighten it all together. make it look good. So as you can see, this gives you a little bit of wiggle room to get this install really clean, really nice. And get that tightened down. This is our breather, so that will go on this little guy right here. Yeah, that looks good. Boom. Boy, nice and stable, nice and secure. And for the overflow tube, we have a couple of, I think these are called Adel clamps. And we'll go ahead and put these in place. Put that so these are upside down and the lump goes down. That way the hose will go, I'm gonna have to check the instructions. They may even say to do that, but if not, they should. And then that goes there. That goes there. Make sure that that looks good. And that. Boom. Boy, that looks good. This is what you get when you have a really well thought out kit. I've seen some of these cold air intakes. They don't look quite on purpose like this. See that guy? That looks good. So I'm gonna bring you on over and we will go ahead and get the actual air filter installed in here. Let me talk to you about the air filter. All right, so for the final part of the install, let's talk about the dry filter that I chose here and why I did it and what the difference is. Well, now the basics are very similar to the K&N filter. You have a oiled filter, and so that's a mesh that you oil, and that helps trap the dirt. This is a dry filter, and it offers a little bit more airflow, but the downside is that it doesn't last as long. This isn't something that you clean and then put back in. Now, you can clean it in the sense that you could blow it out, and you do that a few times and then you'll have to replace it. Now, the reason I picked this is that if you look at all the high-end desert racing trucks, they all have dry filters. And I said, you know what, shoot, let's just go this way and let's try it out, you know what I mean? So we're gonna try it. And I even ordered this little extra pre-filter, this little wrap here that goes on, and this will help make it last a little bit longer. So you'll get basically, you know, we'll find out together. I'll do videos when I go to service and clean it and you'll see. So that's what I chose on here. Again, they have the traditional oiled style filters as well. So you could choose that, something that's much more, has some more longevity to it. But you and me will find out together how long this sucker will last. Now, let's figure out. Okay, that just goes on pretty darn easy. Now we'll tighten this into place. Twist this into position. And that is looking pretty fly. This is the actual cover that will keep it from getting any of the main bit of heat from the engine here. I'm not truly worried. We're gonna actually go and test this out, and this is kind of a cool factor of this video, is that we're gonna find out how much cooler or warmer or the exact same this will operate from the stock airbox, because we're gonna run that HPtuners software and do the same loop that we did a minute ago. But let's take a look at what we just did here. I actually really think this is a good looking bit of kit. Let's go do the loop and see what kind of data we get. We're doing science right now, folks. All right, off we go. Okay, so I'm noticing just at that little bit of wide open throttle, I do hear a little bit of more noise from the intake. Okay, at full wide open throttle, you do hear it a little bit more. it just feels like it's, you know, like it would be obvious. It has an open kind of throat to it. So now you can actually hear when the throttle body opens up and it's going, give me air, give me gas, let's go. Now in my butt dyno, it feels like it actually has a little bit more pep or a little bit more spiritedness to the acceleration. Now let me explain what my butt dyno is to new people. Your butt sits in the seat, your seat is attached to the vehicle, and whatever vehicle it is, that's your best contact point. Like where you grab the steering wheel, that's where you can kind of get feedback from the vehicle. And so in the seat, in my butt dyno, I feel a little bit more pep. Now, a dramatic amount, no, not at all, but something. And that's, we just had some fun and bolted that on. So long, full throttle blast up this little hill. 4th gear drag. Boy, I do like the snappier feel to the throttle. Huh, I like that. Just feels like there's more Jeep under my right foot, if that makes sense to you guys.
Time to head back to the garage, check the data, and see how things stacked up. The stock setup saw more consistent temperatures overall, but never got below 82 degrees. The Delta Force intake temps fluctuate more, but during this similar run, dropped down to 72 degrees. Is that enough difference to be called a cold air intake? Maybe more like a cooler air intake, but overall, we improved looks, power, and feel, so that's a win in my book.
How cool is this? Actual data to back up an upgrade we just did to the Jeep. I mean, this is really cool. Let's go over kind of what we learned today. Well, first off, I look kind of dapper in a tweed blazer. Maybe I should start smoking a pipe. Got a lot to learn there too, but really, we actually learned that the cold air intake is kind of a fun install. This is one of those things that in this price range, they're all around $300 to $400. This is right in that ballpark. The Delta Force cold air intake is a fun, easy install for all skill levels. It actually does work. We're noticing actual drop in intake air temperatures. Plus, there's the butt dyno improvements, and that's kind of one of the most important ones to me. I just want to feel like the improvement that I did actually did something, and I do. I feel like there's more Jeep under my foot, and I feel that it's just a little peppier. I mean, if that's just the bare breakdown of what I feel when I'm driving, and that's everything right there. So keep checking back. I have a lot of great videos coming up. More on the Jeep, the truck, and the Mustang. I'm trying to get a road trip video in the works happening soon. So until next time, enjoy your drive. This was fun. Now to quit pretending like I'm working and open some video games. Let's see what's going on.